Hello students, this is Anil Sir here, and today we are going to see about Anglo-Saxon literature. The literature written in Old English language is called Anglo-Saxon literature. Old English is the language which was spoken in England before 1100 AD. Old English is the Anglo-Frisian group of West Germanic languages. The literature during 600 years, that is from mid-5th century to Norman conquest, is the part of this lecture. Nearly 400 manuscripts are available from this age in the form of epic poetry, hagiography, sermons, Bible translations, legal works, chronicles, riddles, etc. Okay? Now we will begin with the important writers and their works in the Old English period. First of all, the Venerable Bede, B-E-D-E, Bede, whose time span is from 672 to 735 AD. Bede is known as the father of English history. He was one of the most learned men of Europe. He was a monk at the monastery of St. Paul in Kingdom of Northumbria. His famous work is Ecclesiastical History of English People. It was written by Venerable Bede in about 731 AD. It was originally composed in Latin language. Okay? Divided into 5 books and about 400 pages, the Historia covers the history of England, ecclesiastical and political, from the time of Julius Caesar to the date of its completion, that is 731 AD. Now let's see about the volumes, the 5 volumes. The first volume of Historia is divided into 34 chapters. It gives account of the situation in Britain and Ireland and its geographical location and ancient inhabitants. Invasion of Julius Caesar in 55 BC, raids by Scots and Picts, invitation of Angles into the island, arrival of St. Augustine in 597 AD, etc. are the major events recorded in this first volume. The volume ends with the reference of Elfric, king of Northumbria, expelling the Scots from English territories in 603. The second volume of Ecclesiastical History is divided into 20 chapters. It begins with the reference to the death of Pope Gregory in 604. Death of St. Augustine in 604, death of King Ethelbert in 616, the reign of King Edwin and his conversion to Christianity in 625-27 and his death in 633. These are the major events recorded in this second volume. Thus, this second volume records found from 604 to 633 AD. The third volume is divided into 30 chapters and records the events from 633 to 665 AD. Christian King Oswald of 633 AD, life of Bishop Aidan of 635 AD and his miracles, the controversy about Easter celebration in Scotland in 652, how the East Saxons who returned to idolatry due to pestilence brought back to Christianity by Bishop Jeruman in 665 AD. These are the major events recorded in this third volume. The fourth volume of Ecclesiastical History has 32 chapters and records the events from 664 to 698 AD. Appointment of Theodore as Archbishop of Canterbury in 664, Bishop Wilfrid converted the province of Anglo-Saxon to Christianity in 681. Bishop Theodred made peace between King Ecgfrith and Ethelred. Then miracles of Cuthbert. These events are recorded in 32 chapters of the fourth book. Book 5th is the last book in the series of Ecclesiastical History. It contains 24 chapters and records events from 687 to 731 All the chronological events are recapitulated in this section. So total 140 chapters are there in these 5 volumes. In the first volume, as we have seen, events from prehistoric time to 603 AD are discussed. In the second volume, we have happenings in between 604 to 633. In third volume, record about the events from 633 to 655 AD are mentioned. The events from 664 to 698 are the part of the fourth volume, and in the last fifth volume of Ecclesiastical History of English People, we have events from 687 to 731. 731, you know, it is the time of the completion of the book. Okay? Now see the next most important text of Anglo-Saxon age in Old English. It is Beowulf. Beowulf is an epic poem with 3182 alliterative lines. The poet is anonymous and simply recognized by the name of Beowulf poet. The poem is set in Scandinavia. We have already said about Scandinavian countries in our third lecture. Scandinavian countries, Norway, Denmark and Sweden. This poem is a combination of historical events and myths and used to be in oral narrative form. Actually, it is pagan story but told by an anonymous Christian poet. The poem survives in the manuscript known as Novel Codex. You must know about Novel Codex. Mr. Lawrence Novel, a person in 16th century, was the owner of the script and he donated the script to the library of Sir Robert Cotton. Codex, it means an ancient manuscript text in book form. So these donated books by Novel are known as Novel Codex manuscripts. The story of Beowulf is divided into 2 parts. In the first part, we see how Grendel, the monster troubling to King Hrothgar, and how the Beowulf kills him by cutting his arm. Grendel's mother comes to avenge her son but was killed by the Prince of Gates, that is Beowulf. In the second part, we see that after the death of King Pelak, Beowulf becomes king and rules for 50 years. But soon a fire-breathing dragon ravages his land. There is a terrible fight between the dragon and Beowulf. He kills the dragon but is mortally wounded. The poem ends with funeral rites and a lament for Beowulf. Was the trailer of the movie Beowulf.
They say you have a monster here. They say your lands are cursed.
There have been many brave men who have come. But in the morning, there was nothing left but blood on the floor, and the benches, and the walls.
I am Beowulf. I will kill your monster. Do you want me to go in with you? Good.
Are you the one they call Beowulf? Such a strong man you are.
Show yourself! Tonight will be different. I am Ripper, Terror, Slasher. I am the teeth in the darkness, the challenge in the night. Mine is strength and lust and power. I am Beowulf.
Another important writer of Anglo-Saxon age is Elfric of Ancient. He was one of the major figures in Anglo-Saxon age. Elfric is also known by the name of Elfric the Grammarian. He was a famous prolific writer in Old English of homilies, hagiography, biblical commentaries and other genres. A homily is a line commentary that follows a reading of scripture after mass prayer. It is almost like sermons and delivered after public worship. Elfric delivered almost 40 of such homilies in his lifetime. Some of his famous homilies are homily number 1 on the beginning of creation, homily number 5, the nativity of innocent, homily number 10, Shrove Sunday, homily number 15, Easter Sunday, homily number 20 of the Catholic faith, homily number 25th, the nativity of John the Baptist, homily number 13 on the Assumption of the Blessed Mary, homily number 36, the nativity of all saints, and homily number 14, the second Sunday in Lord's Advent. Hagiography is a biography of a saint or an ecclesiastical leader. Elfric has such 39 biographies at his credit. It includes some of the best biographies like Saint Agnes, Saint Agatha, Saint George, Saint Oswald and Saint Cecilia. He wrote 3 works to help students learn Latin. The first book, The Grammar, in which he translated Latin grammar into English, hence he became famous as Elfric the Grammarian. Second book is The Glossary, in which words are not in alphabetical order but grouped by topics. And the third book is The Colloquy. It's a conversational manual to help the students of Latin to learn the language. Another important writer of Anglo-Saxon age is Caedmon. Its time of flourishment is from 658 to 680. We have reference of Caedmon from Bede's Ecclesiastical History of the English People. The story is about an illiterate herdsman who had a dream vision commanding him to sing in praise of God. It was a divine inspiration and his poetry aimed at turning men from evil to God. Only 9 lines are survived and we have its reference in Bede's Ecclesiastical History. Originally, these hymns were in Old English, but Bede introduced them in Latin. This 9 lines poem is famously known as Caedmon's hymn. Now we have Cynewulf, 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 who flourished in 9th century AD, had 4 poems in Old English at his credit. First one is Eleni, E-L-E-N-E, Eleni, a poem of 1321 lines, is an account of the finding of the true cross by Saint Helena. The true cross, the cross on which Jesus Christ was crucified. Then the second one, the Fates of the Apostles. It tells the story of the martyrdom of the 12 chief disciples of Jesus Christ. The third poem is Christ Second. It is the Accession, a lyrical version of a homily written by Pope Gregory I the Great. And the fourth one is Juliana. Juliana, it is 731 lines poem about the life and suffering by Saint Juliana. It retells the story of a Latin prose on the life of Juliana. Now it is about Anglo-Saxon Chronicles. It is the collection of historical records in Old English. The original manuscript was created during the reign of Alfred the Great. There are total 9 chronicles available, but none of these is in the original version. The following are the 9 chronicles. First, Winchester Chronicle, it is also known as Parker Chronicle. The second one is Abingdon Chronicle, part 1st. Third one is Abingdon Chronicle, part 2nd. Fourth one is Worcester Chronicle. The fifth one is Peterborough or Land Chronicle. Sixth one is Bilingual Canterbury Epitome. Seventh one is a copy of the Winchester Chronicle. Eighth, it is Cottonian Fragment. And ninth one is an Easter Table Chronicles. So these 9 Anglo-Saxon chronicles are important from historical viewpoints. Now it's about Judith. This is an incomplete poem of 348 lines in Old English. It is divided into 3 sections and only 10th, 11th and 12th parts are available. This poem depicts the story of a brave Jewish widow named Judith. The Jewish city Bethulia was under attack by General Holofernes sent by King of Assyria. Judith led the besieged city in pretended flight and foretold to Holofernes that he would be victorious. Invited into his tent, she cut off his head as he lay drunken asleep and brought it in a bag to Bethulia. A Jewish victory over the leaderless Assyrian forces followed. This is how the poem depicts the woman heroism. It is a major part of Old English Anglo-Saxon literature. Now we are going to see about Exeter Book. Exeter Book is the largest extant collection of Old English poetry. It is divided into 4 parts: the Wanderer, the Seafarer, the Wife's Lament, the Husband's Message and the Ruin. These are secular poems evoking a sense of desolation and loneliness in their description of the separation of lovers, the sorrow of exile, or the terrors and attraction of the sea. The Wanderer and the Seafarer also carry the weight of religious allegory. The Exeter Book also preserves 95 riddles. The Exeter Book is believed to have originally consisted of 131 pages. The original first 8 pages of the book have gone missing and were replaced by other pages at a later date. The Exeter Book, its name from Exeter Cathedral. The book was donated to Cathedral's library in 1072 by first Bishop of Exeter, Elfric. W.H. Auden's poem The Wanderer is inspired by the poem The Wanderer found in Exeter Book. Ezra Pound's poem The Seafarer is an interpretation of the first 99 lines of Exeter Book. On June 21, 2016, UNESCO added the Exeter Book to its Memory of the World Register. This is the greatest honor to the ancient book. And lastly, we are going to see about Alfred the Great. Alfred the Great, the only English king with the title of the Great, ruled England from 849 to 899. He was of the opinion that primary education to be taught in English rather than Latin, and he worked for it at a concrete level. Alfred visited many times to Rome from 853 to 855 AD. He changed his attitude for administration and education too. So he decided to adopt the concept of centralized state. He gathered the legal codes from Mercia, Wessex and Kent, studied them carefully and wrote its own code that became the law of the land. He also wrote a lengthy prologue to the code that was show a power and wisdom. He translated many books from Latin to English, which proved very useful for the common people. He translated Gregory the Great's Pastoral Care, Boethius's Consolation of Philosophy, St. Augustine's Soliloquies, and first 50 Psalm of the Psalter. Under his direction, scholars also translated Gregory's Dialogues, Orosius' Histories against Pagans, and Bede's Ecclesiastical History. So we can say that Alfred's effort to bring reading and writing closer to the people was at the root of creating medieval English nation. Thank you very much. This is Anil Sir here. This is the 5th lecture. I am sure that you are going to subscribe this channel